What's up guys, AD back with another Destiny Child video, and in today's video everyone, we are going to be overviewing the World Boss Trial Season 31 team guide for the Bari event. So I did put together this graphic for all of you to follow, and hopefully the suggestions on this graphic are helpful to you when facing up against Bari in our current event. So with all of that being said, let's get started with the overview here, as we do have quite a few units to check out on this guide. So here we are with the start of the World Boss Trial Season 31 Bari team guide. As for the units, of course she is a light type supporter, and we do have her showcased on the left hand side here towards the top. As for the boss skills though, we do have the tap skill, dealing damage to 4 enemies, highest HP, inflicting curse, 330 damage over time every 2 seconds, and bonus damage at the end of duration or if removed for 20 seconds, and drive gauge plus 380 added to self. As for the slide skill here, dealing damage 2 times to 5 enemies, priority with curse, an 80% chance to inflict curse amplifier, increases damage over time and duration of curse on curse targets for 16 seconds, and a 60% chance to inflict stun for 1 second more when attacked, up to 5 seconds max for 12 seconds long. As for the drive skill here, dealing damage to all enemies in the front row, a 90% chance to inflict curse amplifier, increases damage over time and duration of curse for 2 turns, and dealing 2000 fixed damage to cursed targets. And last but not least, for the leader buff here, debuff evasion plus 30%, all skill defense plus 80% except for weak point attributes, and allure immunity for all allies. As for the boss skill set here, overall she doesn't seem too difficult, and with the right units to provide a decent amount of sustainability, you shouldn't struggle too much against this World Boss Trial. As for the unit recommendations, let's get started here with the first row, starting with the left hand side for the boost childs here, in which we do have the new dark type attacker Marduk. As for this unit, you'll want to be sure to summon her up, as she does have a 60% base boost for the magic mirror fragments. And for Marduk here, you'll be running her on slide if you don't happen to ignite her, and if you do ignite her, you can run her on 1 tap and 4 slide skills. As for the second boost child, we do have Neza here, which is our dark type supporter that provides double-edged sword as well as skill gauge charge percentage plus. So be sure to run Neza in your team, and you should also consider using her leader skill if you don't have a unit like Ramladal, and which we'll mention in just a bit. As for the debuffer counters, we do have the recommendation of 1 to 2. Now of course, if you are a late game player, you probably won't need Babel or Alter Davi, but if you are a beginner or a player that is just getting started still on Destiny Child, then Babel or Alter Davi is definitely an amazing option to add onto your team. Of course, you'll want to prioritize Babel, but if you don't happen to have him, consider using Alter Davi as well. As for the debuffer extenders, you'll want to run both of these units. Of course, we do have self-depreciating Navi here as well as Lewin, and you'll run both of these units on slide only. As for the next category here, we do have the disable strategy, in which this strategy essentially disables the boss entirely, but you'll need to have Bradamante at least a 3-star ignition as well as Pan on your team. So both of these units would be required if you guys would like to run this disable strategy, as most players do happen to use this and it works very well. As for the next row here, everyone, we do have the dancing blade / defense minus category, in which you'll run 1 to 2 of these units depending on your combination here. Now if you do happen to have Ramladal from the Guilty Gear Strive collaboration event, then you'll definitely want to run her if you do happen to have her at least 3-star ignition. And alongside Ramladal, you'll want to run Kalchus, our 4-star light type attacker, at full ignition, as he does provide dancing blade on his slide skill, so you can run both of these units side by side. Now if you don't happen to have Ramladal as well as an ignited Kalchus, you can run Lady Bathory, as she's still a good option. Next here, we do have the weak point defense minus, in which it's recommended to run 1 of these units. Now first up here, we do have Mercury, but you'll have to be sure to ignite your Mercury to at least 4-star ignition if you would like to use her at all. Next up here, we do have Midas, which is recommended if you don't happen to to have your Mercury ignited, as he would be the second best option. Next here we do have double-edged sword, in which is recommended to run Neza here, and of course you'll want to run her regardless for the World Boss Trial Magic Mirror Fragment booster, and of course consider using her leader skill if you don't happen to have Ram Ladal. Next here we have skill defense minus, in which it's recommended to run Oracle Werewolf, as she is a staple for World Boss Trials. And last but not least here for this row, we have the aid category, in which you'll want to run Newbie Mona. As for the next row here everyone, we do have the crit buffer, in which it's recommended to run at least one of these units. Now of course Lupin would be the priority here, as she does happen to be our offensive stance unit for the light type World Boss Trials, so be sure to run Lupin if you do happen to have her. Now if you don't happen to have Lupin, then you'll need to run Pantheon, as he'll be the second best choice. As for offensive stance, as we mentioned already, you'll want to run Lupin here, as she does provide offensive stance from her drive skill. Next up here we do have the offensive supports category, in which it's recommended to run 3 to 5 of these units, starting out with Duetsha here, our dark type supporter, in which you'll run Duetsha on tap only. Next here we have Neza, as we mentioned already before, you'll want to run her on slide only. And for our 2 light type supporters here we have Ja Changbi, in which you'll run her on tap only. Now be sure to have your Ja Changbi ignited to at least 2 stars, so you can take full advantage of her tap skill. Next up here we have Nimhain, in which you'll want to run her on tap only. And last but not least we have a Nemone here, in which you'll run her on slide and 2 taps. Now if you do happen to need more sustainability, you can add more taps onto a Nemone skill order. Next up here everyone, we do have the speed buffer and cooldown reduction category, in which you'll run 4 to 5 of these units. First up here we have Sweet Citry, in which you'll run on slide only. Next here we have Maid Citry, in which you'll run on 1 slide and 2 taps. And if you do happen to have her ignited, you can run her on 1 slide and 4 tap skills. Next here we have Tiwaz, in which you'll run on tap only. Now do take into consideration, if you are running Duetsha, you may not need to run Tiwaz, as their tap skills work very similarly. Next here we have Milia from the Guilty Gear Strive collaboration event, in which you'll want to run her on slide tap tap. And last but not least we have Wodan here, in which you'll run her on slide only. Next here we do have the healer category, in which we do have Freya, and if you don't happen to have Freya, you can run either Elf or Mott. Of course a healer isn't necessary, but if you do need the additional sustainability, be sure to add one onto your team, definitely if you are a newer player, as well as the defender category here, in which we do have Nephthys or Zooming Mars. Next up here everyone, we do have the dark type attackers, in which it's recommended to run at least 2 to 3 of these characters. First up here we do have Marduk, in which you'll want to run her most importantly for the World Boss Trial booster, and here you'll run Marduk on slide or 1 tap and 4 slides if you do happen to ignite her. Next here we do have Kubaba, in which you'll run on slide only, followed by Ophuis, in which you'll also run on slide only, and second to last here we have Dark Eve, in which you'll run on slide only, and last but not least we have Artemis, in which you can run on tap only. Next up here everyone, we do have the Soul Kata recommendations, in which first up we do have the attacker Soul Katas, starting out with Cafe des Petites, in which this Soul Kata does provide weak points percentage plus, and would be the recommendation for this event to maximize your fever damage. Now of course fever damage isn't too amazing, so you may probably want to test the Peaceful Cafe des Petites alongside the Praying Girl Soul Kata here, in which the second one does increase critical skill damage percentage plus. Last but not least, if you don't happen to have those two there, you'll have to resort to the Inspiration Soul Kata, which does increase max attack by a flat amount. Next here we do have the debuffer Kartas, in which the priority would be the Troubleshooter Mono Soul Kata, as it does provide debuff accuracy percentage plus. And second here we do have Juno's Gift, in which it does increase debuff duration percentage plus. As for the last category of Soul Kartas here, we do have the Supporter / Tank Kartas, in which Change of Air would be the prioritization for the skill gauge percentage plus. And if you do need sustainability as well as debuff evasion, we do have the Showtime Soul Kata. As for the sample lineup of this event's guide everyone, we do have the front row consisting of Babel, Oracle Werewolf, Newbie Mona, Self-Depreciating Navi, Neza, Maid Citry, Lady Battery, Mercury at 4-star ignition, Sweet Citry, as well as Lewin for the front row. And for the back row here we have Marduk, Kubaba, Ophois, Lightja Chungbi, Nimhain, Duetsha, Tiwaz, Lupin, Anemoe, and Freya. As for the drive order of this team, you'll want to run Neza into Newbie Mona drive and end off with the Lupin drive into Fever Time. As for the leader skill, you'll be running Neza's leader skill, and of course, to note, this lineup here does take into consideration newer players as well as players that don't happen to have collaboration units such as Ramlathal or Melia. As for the final notes here of this guide, we have always drive Lupin before Fever Time, experiments with other drive skills and orders, examples Mercury, Oracle Werewolf, etc. Third of all here, the team composition above is a sample for new players, low budget, as well as no collaboration units. Second to last here, experiments with other leader skills, examples Neza and Ramlathal, and consider adding in Limos for her leader skill if you don't happen to have those other options. Last but not least, the Soul Carta Tea Bloody Tea Time is another great option for supporters, as well as the Peaceful Sheep Ranch Soul Carta is a great option for debuff evasion if you do lack Showtime Soul Cartas. So that'll pretty much do it for the World Boss Trial Season 31 Bari team guide overview here that I did put together for you all to hopefully follow, and let me know in the comment section below if this guide is helpful to you at all, and I'll be sure to have it linked in the description box below if you guys would like to save the image and keep it on hand for later. Of course, I'll be sure to have a run here on the channel showcasing my team as well as some niche recommendations that may help you guys out in the long run, so make sure to stay tuned for that video as well. But before you go everyone, make sure to leave a like on this one if you guys did enjoy today's Destiny Child guide, as well as be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so already. But with all of that being said, I'll catch you all in the next Destiny Child video. As always, thank you all so much for watching.